Hello, in this presentation we're going to look at the page load speed of the website and take some actions to improve it. First of all, we better understand why we're going to do this. Well, obviously if a page takes too long to load, people are going to get bored and they're more likely to click away to another site and you'll lose them as customers. Google knows this and will actually penalize slow loading websites and could well be giving preference to faster loading websites. So it is important that we make sure that the website loads reasonably well. Now there are various things that can affect this. First is the web host. You get what you pay for. I am with a reasonably good web host, but nothing special. So it should be interesting to see what results we get. Obviously this website is also quite new, so it's probably compatible with most of our potential customers here, and our potential viewers who are not likely to have tens of thousands of visitors to their site, perhaps only a few hundred a month, some of you even less. In which case, each of those visitors is even more important. We need to get page speed as good as possible. So we'll go through some different things to do, and hopefully that will make your website more efficient. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have a look at the plugins that we're using and make sure that they're performing well. So the way we do that is we want to install a plugin called the P3 Performance Plugin Profiler. It's actually GoDaddy are responsible for this one, which is personally I think the best thing GoDaddy have ever done. This plugin will actually check the speed of all your plugins for you, and I've installed it already, but if you haven't, you go to plugins, add new, and if you put, I think P3 Profiler is enough. There it is. So you will need to click the install now button, and then when it's finished installing, you can then click on this again to activate it. And if you have activated, the tools menu will show you the P3 profile. And here's a scan I did earlier. In fact, I'll show you actually. There's the scan I did first. And unfortunately, we got a problem with our MemberSonic membership plugin. Now, fortunately, we're not actually using the membership services at the moment, so we've uninstalled that plugin already. That was taking almost half a second of the query time, 3/4 of the query time. So that plugin has gone, and hopefully we'll have found the fix for it before we need it again. If I click back on history again, second time, you see we did a second scan. And this time we've got a better output of things. The page load time has already gone down to half a second. That's getting to the point of being good. The way we do a scan is very simple. You go up here to start scan. You can do an auto scan, which means you don't have to do any work. It will go through some pages for you, and it is checking out the speed of all the plugins. Remember, at this point, we're not really going to be able to take any direct action that's going to speed things up. We're looking to find plugins that are not performing and may not be worth running. Any plugin that's not active shouldn't be having any great effect on your site's performance. Although if you have no intention of using a plugin, I would suggest you deleted it for the sake of keeping things nice and neat and tidy. So there we are, our scan is complete. We can now view the results, and you can see that it's pretty much uneven game between various plugins. This toolset views, which is taking a bit more time this time. Layouts and views. So the toolset plugin collection is causing me a little bit of slowness. I have a trick for that later on, but I'm not too worried about half a second page load time is good enough for me for this particular part of the profiling. I'll accept that for now. I'll leave the P3 profile plugin available so I can test later, but that'll do me for stage 1. Next thing I want to do is find out what the outside world thinks of my website. So I'm going to go to a website called Pingdom. Pingdom is a good product. I recommend you get it. It's well worth the money. Although I've taken advantage of the free test here, so I've put the URL in and I've hit start test, and these are the first set of results I got. I have a C grade. I have a 75% score. So Google's page speed, which is the tool Google uses to decide how good or bad your site is and whether or not they're going to penalize you, is going to give me a C grade, which is a reasonable. It's taken 4.25 seconds to load my page. That's faster than 39% of tested sites. Well, that's not good because I'm not beating the majority. Page load speed, 1.1 megabytes, sounds quite a lot. 90 requests. And if you see the report here, you can see I've got an A for most things, except for these two up here. It says I need to minimize the request size on a particular string, which I'm not really quite sure how I'm going to do with that one. And I've also got remove query strings from static resources. This is quite a common problem I've found. Here are a lot of calls being made by various style sheets and JavaScript scripts. And they're all reporting the version numbers of their code, which is okay for them, but it doesn't actually give us any benefits. In fact, it penalizes us because if you have a question mark on the end, it is more difficult for caching programs, which we'll go into in a little while. It's more difficult for caching programs to decide whether they can use a resource or whether they have to go and find a new version of the file. So we could do without them. Fortunately, I found that there is a plugin which purports to remove them, called the Remove Query Strings from Static Resources plugin. So I'm going to copy that and I'm going to install that into my site. So I'll go back to Plugins, Add New. I'll go to Search Plugins, Control V to paste the search query, and immediately there it is. So install now. Installed. I'm going to activate it. Okay, it says it's working. Now I want to see if it does what it thinks it says on the tin. So here's my site. If I go right click and view page source, I'll see the code that's being sent from the website, which won't mean much to you, but don't worry, it doesn't need to, because if we go back to this website speed test, have a look at this thing here. We've got a lot of question mark VER equals. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my code here. I'm going to do Control F to find. I'm going to say question mark VER. And you can see that there is no VER equals on my site anymore. So I'm pretty much of the view that that plugin is working. I was expecting them all on the end of these lines here, and they're not there. So we like that. Yes, I hear you say, should we check that the page speed is not being slowed down by running this plugin? That is a jolly good question. And if we can do it properly, we should. I notice an update available as well. Does that mean our plugin is updating? Let's see what the update says. always make sure your plugins are updated. It's Yoast SEO, which I'm not actually using yet, but we'll update it anyhow. So you're doing all these tests and then find that you've got an out-of-date plugin. So let's go back to tools and go for the profiler. You'll not always get identical reports, profiler, because you don't have control on all the other people using your web server at the same time as you, unless you're going to buy your own one. So there will be slight variations, but you expect the slight variations to be slight, not big changes. If you get lots of big changes, then you really need to consider your hosting options. So we just want to make sure that profiler tool, that tool that we've just added to remove the question mark vers, is not going to adversely affect the page speed. Wouldn't expect it to, but you never know, it might conflict with another plugin, cause problems. Okay, we finished. Scan is complete, view results. And you see we're still around at half a second. So that's fine. We still seem to have the same plugins. We don't seem to have anything especially more scary going on. Right, so this website speed test. I want to download it. And I'm going to do the test again. Let's try doing the test again. Now, I didn't expect it to be any faster because it's still doing all the same work. So it's still about the same, but got a performance upgrade. We now got a B grade. So we've only got one issue about these URLs fitting in a packet, which I frankly don't understand completely. I need to research that. But we've got A grades for everything. So we've got one issue left, which is going to worry me, but it's going to. Everything else looks, there are lots of little sections here. There's nothing big. Well, there's a bit of admin there. It's taking a long time. That's interesting. Does the fact that I'm logged in make a difference? No, I don't know. We should check. I'm not logged in now. I don't know how many times as well the Pingdom's going to let me keep doing these tests before it says, excuse me, you're going to join us or not. It has, look. Not being logged in has actually improved my speed. So it is, when the tool is running, it is recognizing, I believe, that I'm logged in. Right, well, now this is working well. I'm going to just register for this 14-day trial, and then I'll come back and I'll show you what we're going to do next. Right, well, I just had a shock, a pleasant shock. Our registration of Pingdom isn't automatically allowed. They have to verify people, so I'm waiting for the verification process to happen, which I like because that stops random testers randomly testing other people's sites and causing all sorts of mischief. So while that's going on, I think we can carry on with our product here of improving the system. So we have a load time of 3.69 seconds. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to install a caching program. Now this is a plugin. There are a few of them available. This is one of the best, certainly the one that I wish to use, W3 Total Cache. Now this plugin will cache content. So I logged out to get the system working. I've logged in again now. Add new. This plugin will analyze static information which hasn't changed and will stop WordPress from keep creating it over and over again, which should hopefully mean that if it doesn't keep creating that content, it will load faster. So I'm going to do nothing special apart from activate it. Okay, so we're just in normal community mode. That's okay. So we've just taken the basic settings. Just for the sake of system working, I will log out again. And we will see if we can improve on 3.69 seconds. And you see it's actually faster by a very small fraction. Already asked for a trial. You won't let me have it. 3.67 seconds. You can see that my caching hasn't really made any great difference at this point. Now that's good news and bad news. Good news because it means that my code is actually quite efficient already. What do I mean by that? Well, if you were to use source, lots of little CSS files and JavaScript files, style files and JavaScript files loading everywhere. Now, these have all been minimized, which means they are smallest, shortest version they can be. If they weren't, then that's something the caching program will do. Well, there's one you see that needs minimizing. You see, so that could be squashed. All that white space, it could all be in one line, be quicker. So there is some minimizing that can be done. Most of this site is actually pretty efficient. The reason that one is bad is because that's our main file that we use, which we haven't minimized. You can see all the rest. Nicely done. So our caching program so far has not given us any benefits. So let's go in and see what we can add to make this a bit more powerful. Enable page cache. Can enable minify, which is the one which will squash down those files. Database cache. Now the information on my database is not going to change much until I add new posts, so I'll label that. Don't actually think we have many objects to be cached, but we'll cache them anyhow. CDN, we're not using a content delivery network yet, so we won't monitor that one. Oh, that reminds me, we should install Page API key with Google to keep Google happy. Let's save those settings. Visit the site, make sure the site doesn't crash and it doesn't log out, because that makes a difference on speed testing. And see if we've got any decent. I would hope there'd be a slight improvement here. What happens now? fact, it's worse. The problem about speed caching is that that's better. See, look, the second time round, it's realised there's more to. First time, the system was slower because it was analysing. Sorry, I should have thought about that before I did it. Second time, it analysed content and it had removed and squashed everything it could. So the second time, it was using the cache. There we are. Our speed has reduced now to 1.82 seconds. Now faster than 75% of all the sites that this system tests. Now there's one more system that I'd like to employ to try and improve the speed even more. And that's to install something which is outside of my hosting. And it's a separate caching service called Cloudflare. So let's install that. Okay, so you need to register for Cloudflare. The service I'm going to use, first of all, is going to be, again, I'm going to use the free version to show you the advantages of that. Setup process is pretty boring, and it's going to be a little bit involved because we already have some complicated settings on our DNS. Now, the DNS is the server that takes your name, WP Business Club in this case, and converts it to the IP addresses for whatever services you're using. We've got some email provided by Microsoft, and there's some funny settings for that, and then we've got the website settings. So this is going to be a little bit more complicated than most people have, and I'll probably be blurring out a lot of this before I report it to you. But what is nice about Cloudflare is it will actually do a lot of the work for you. So it's now going to look at my settings for WP Business Club, and it's going to find out what settings I've already got. I will then verify that with my list from my hosting provider of what I believe I have, to make sure it's not missed anything. And we'll pause the video while it gets on with that scanning. Okay, it's finished, and if I continue setup, I now have all the settings that it's going to have for me. Which I'm probably going to have to blur out for you. The important thing you want to make sure if you're doing this is that first of all it's got your address right for your website, which I believe it has, and secondly it's got your settings that you want for your email, and that's where I'm a little bit concerned that it's not got everything. So let me just correct that, which will not be of interest to you, and we'll carry on. Okay, I've resolved my concerns. Hit continue. I'll now end up with, these are the name servers at 1&1, which is being used for my domain now. And Noah and Seema are the two name servers that Cloudflare wants me to use. The reason Cloudflare wants you to use its name servers is because it's at that level that it can start interfering with traffic coming into your site, divert it through its system, and speed up your site. So I will now need to go into my hosting provider and change those name servers, which I'm afraid I'm not going to show you in this video. I'm just going to do it and I'll come back. Okay, I changed my domain name servers. Now, it is unlikely this is going to be very quick. It's going to take a few hours at least. So I'll hit continue. And that's what we have. We have a pending. As I said, name servers are not something that's going to be changed in minutes. It's going to take an hour or so, maybe a bit more. 24 to 48 hours is the often quoted times. I'm finding nowadays most hosting companies' response on their servers is better than that. So we will come back when the recheck gives me an OK. So here we are an hour later, and I'm happy to say that the DNS has now applied to Cloudflare. So Cloudflare is now active, and I can do the test. And I've done it a couple of times already, and I'm getting about 1.7 seconds. Oh yeah, 1.72 seconds. So that's a great result. Great result. We're now faster than 77% this time of all tested sites. So I'm happy with that. That'll get me going. Under 2 seconds is great. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have success with your optimization too. Okay, I'd just like to leave you with a review of the actions that I've taken. First thing I did was I removed inefficient plugins. There was one that was causing errors and slower than was required. Unfortunately, we're not using it at the moment, so we've taken that out until we've fixed it. Then we checked with Pingdom, and we found we had a grade C and a 4.25 load speed. We're able to remove one of the issues using the remove query strings from static resources plugin, which improved our grade to grade B, with just one issue left to be resolved, but it increased our load speed temporarily. We then installed the W3 Total Cache plugin to cache resources, and the caching brought the speed up dramatically, reduced this down to 1.87 second load speed from 4.2. Excellent result. And then I included an additional caching mechanism by running the site through Cloudflare. This reduced the site to another 1.72 seconds, and that will also have a greater effect when the site becomes more busy. The last thing we'll be doing, but not today, is to freeze the theme design, which we have used the WP Toolset plugins to produce. And we know that once we've freezed the theme design, we can remove many of those plugins, and that again will increase the efficiency of the site. So good luck with your sites, and I hope they get more efficient as well. Thanks very much.
For more info, visit wpbusinessclub.com.